The NBA Finals starting Thursday, and as we know, the Timberwolves not playing. They fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder last week in the Western Conference Finals.
And now the team is officially wrapping up this season. Pierre Noujaim joins us. Pierre, the president of basketball operations for the Wolves, speaking to the media today. I'm sure this is not the way that he wanted the season to end, but what did he have to say about how this season went?
Well, he did say that he was very pleased with how the team grew as the season went along. If you recall, at the beginning of the season, the trade that shook the NBA world was Karl-Anthony Towns leaving Minnesota and departing to New York in exchange for Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. But even though it was rocky in the beginning, he's still proud of the way this team was able to put things together and be a Final Four team in the NBA for the second year in a row. Now, of course, that's not their ultimate goal, but he is feeling pretty good about where this team is and the direction that it's going. And I think there's a lot of positives that Tim Connelly is leaning on right now as the offseason quickly approaches.
Yeah, well, speaking of where they're going, what does the roster look like next season?
Yeah, that's I think the question that's on everybody's mind right now, and it all starts with the NBA draft coming up later this month. The Wolves have the 17th overall selection in the first round and the 31st overall selection, which is the first pick in the second round, and that's a coveted pick because you could still get a pretty good talent at 31 overall and you wouldn't have to pay him a first-round type contract. So that's a very valuable asset if Tim Connelly wants to trade that for whatever reason at some point. Now, as far as free agency goes, Naz Reid and Julius Randle each have player options for next season. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a free agent, so he's free to go wherever he wants at this point. And we don't know who's going to be back, but Tim Connelly did indicate to us today, and I'll read you I'll paraphrase what he had to say about both Naz Reid and Julius Randle. He said he's got nothing but positive indicators that both of those guys will be in Wolves jerseys next season. That's a pretty strong statement about two players who have their own futures in their own hands. They don't need to wait on the Timberwolves to dictate what they want to do for their own future. So the fact that he's remaining positive that both of those players could be on the roster next season, I have to take him at his word for that, but we'll see if that's able to come to fruition when free agency rolls around.
And I'm sure he's very aware that these are two very loved players, so fingers crossed that they stay on the team. Pierre, really quickly, you talked about Tim Connelly a little bit there. He touched on his contract too, right? Any big news there or what?
Well, he had an option that was reportedly pushed back. The option was for last year, but they pushed it back to this year to where, you know, he could be seeking employment elsewhere. But you have to remember there's also new ownership that's going to be coming in. I mean, Glenn Taylor is on the way out. Alex Rodriguez, Mark Lowry, they're going to assume majority ownership as the next season rolls around. But Tim Connelly said to us that this feels like home. Minnesota feels like home. And he said it with a smile that he thinks that we, the media, are going to be stuck with him for a little while longer. So the indications are that Tim Connelly is going to be sticking around, but a new deal sounds like it's going to have to be worked out. But the indication that we got from Tim Connelly today is that he's going to be remaining in Minnesota for the near future.
Well, if he is, they should have a Tim Connelly bobblehead night to announce it.
Doubt.
Right?
I have no doubt.
And Kelsey better get one.
Yeah. All right, thanks,
I have no
Pierre.
doubt they'll have that at some point for sure.
All right, it's time to take the field.